Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Blue Sunday, proudly brought to you by the Jumper Punch. My name is Bangkok Joe, and joining me all the way in sunny Melbourne, I believe, is former president of the Carltonians, life member of the Carlton Football Club, Mr. Vince Loccisano. How are you today, Vince?
G'day, Bangkok Joe. Good to see you. And yes, it was pretty sunny, but still damn cold, 12 or 13 degrees. And it looks like it's going to be a bit around about that for the next week or so. So right in the middle of winter, I think, halfway through July. So we're exactly right in the middle of winter.
Well, you'll be glad to know that it's our wet season today here, and it's 31
it's
degrees.
About 39 degrees and 98% humidity or something.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, Vince, before we go on, you need to give yourself a round of applause, right?
What, for putting a $60 bet on that lost?
No, today is our 50th show.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so you can top your hat. 50 great shows. Been what, 3 years in the making? 2, 3 years? 3 years?
Well, this is our first year on the Jumper Punch channel, so so we've come of age. So what we'll do is it's not one where you take the hat off, but you just you hold up the bat. Can I find something that resembles a bat? No, I haven't got anything here that resembles a bat. But anyway, what will I get? No, I can't find anything.
Well, just tip it. Hold you, grab your, put your hat to your chest or something.
I'll hold up my Blues beanie. Holding up
put it to your chest.
Half century.
Okay. Now, Vince, before we do any admin, there's something quite serious has come to my attention during the week. We've had to contact our lawyers against some other members on this show, namely the guys on Thursday night. Sam, he jumped into my room and used my room to do the show. My brand manager was not impressed. So
I thought he actually broke into your place and took over your huge lounge room there that we can see behind you with your grand piano and everything else.
Yeah, so Ration, Sam, and Rocco, you can be expecting to hear from the lawyers. I'm settling for 2 cans of Coke, a packet of chips, and a Mars bar, and nothing less. All right.
And you'll probably be able to pick up a few AFL footballers with that in trade period.
Maybe. Well, we'll get to that later. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Guys, we are essentially a social media channel, so we would really like you to like, share, and subscribe at Blue Sunday, at The Jumper Punch on Facebook, and if you're watching us on YouTube, at The Jumper Punch. Next, the show is proudly brought to you and sponsored by my company, Retired Working For You Tours. We do tours here all the way through Thailand, where we'll be moving into areas close by. So if you need some help, please feel free to get hold of me. Also, as you know, I've mentioned we are a YouTube social media channel. We appreciate comments. You don't have to agree with us, and you can disagree with us. We don't care. We don't really want abuse. It's not the show. We don't want to say, oh, this guy's useless or that guy's useless. At the end of the day, they are all out there trying. It's not like someone goes out there not to try. So constructive comments, you may not like a certain player, the way he plays or something. That's fine. Just constructive. Don't say, oh, this guy's bloody useless or anything like that. And try and keep the language clean. Vince, what can you tell me?
I want to disagree with you on part of that.
Do you? Okay, go for it.
If you want to make a comment that you think one of our players is useless, go right ahead. You're entitled to your opinion. This is freedom of speech. What we're saying is, I think what you're trying to say is, let's not get personal.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It's all. If you want to criticise their performance, by all means,
that's different.
Criticise the performance, but don't go labeling. Don't go labeling someone a particular, obnoxious name or start getting.
That's what I'm getting at.
Personal.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
like personal attacks.
But if you think, for example, that such and such a player, played a shocking game or he's totally useless, we should drop him. Go for your life. That's what it's all
Oh,
about.
no, that's okay. I'm not saying that. But, when some people get personal and attack the actual person.
But there's a difference between criticising performance and criticising the person as a person. So,
yes, exactly.
I mean, let's face it, most of us don't even know the players in terms of their personalities or their characters. All we can do is judge them on their performance on the day. So, anyway, good to see some of our regulars have joined in. Rocco and DC.
Peter
and,
V.
Peter V.
Enzo.
Enzo. Good
DC.
to see you all.
Yeah. I'm
By
sure they're
we want to hear from all of you guys, and we'll put up as many comments as we can, I'm sure, during the show.
Hey, Vince, there's a comment here. Get closer to the mic, please. I can hear you, but maybe it might be you, Wayne. Don't know.
Maybe. No.
Frankie wants to drop all 18 of them.
Tell you what, Wayne, you're the first person I've ever come across that's told me that my voice is too quiet. Most people are telling me to shut up because I've got a booming auctioneer's voice.
Anyway.
And I'm basically drowning out everyone else. But anyway. All right, Joe, we had a big game yesterday.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's been a big weekend. The guy that shot at Donald Trump, he must be the Carlton goal-kicking coach because he couldn't hit the target.
Very funny.
How do you miss that?
I won't get political, but all I can say is this. Typical of the left-wing extremists when they don't get their own way and when they can see that they're facing defeat in the face, what do? The tolerant left get violent. As typical of anything that you can go back in history, they're all the same. They can't handle defeat. They can't handle that the rest of the population doesn't see things their way. But anyway,
so
long live Donald Trump. Go on.
As per usual, we have our special guest waiting in the wings.
Yes,
he's the one and only, Mr. David Rhys-Jones. Good evening, David. How are you tonight?
I'd like to get Rhys's view on the Donald Trump shooting too. What do you reckon, Rhys?
Hey, well, they can't jail him, so they've got to kill him, don't they? They can't.
That's exactly my point.
They can't get rid of him. They cannot get rid of him. And
they won't. And you know what? This will make him stronger than ever. Mark my words.
I think he's into $1.38 on the betting at the moment, so that's an absolute certainty. So keep firing.
It's only a certainty if they don't cheat like they did 4 years ago and steal the election.
Well, that's why I think Joe is hoping for. Anyway, I think he must have something up his sleeve. He's hanging around.
We must.
Anyway, boys, let's get on to yesterday's game. Vince,
that's it.
Do your stuff.
Rightio, here we go. The final scores yesterday, my word, this was disappointing. How disappointing was it? Carlton 12-14-86, defeated by the Western Bulldogs, who cracked the ton 14-16-100. And as you can see there, we got off to a pretty good start, 3-4 to only 7 behinds at quarter time. But really that just showed us that they had as much of the ball as we did. They were just inaccurate. But then they fixed that in the second quarter, didn't they? 7-2 to 4-2 in the second. And they largely reduced that margin back to 3 points at halftime. Then they kicked 4-5 to 3-4 in the third quarter and actually took the lead and went in with a 10-point lead at three-quarter time, and they extended that by another 4 points in the last quarter, kicking 3-2 to Carlton's 2-4 to run out 14-point victors. And, a very disappointing result in Patrick Cripps' 200th game, and we'll talk about that a bit later, I'm sure, but I just couldn't help but feel so sorry for our captain. He put everything he had into that game, and unfortunately the rest of the team just couldn't go with him. We see here the statistics. These are the ones that are of most difference between the teams. You'll see there that the overall disposal, in fact, we really came out ahead in most of the categories. 361 disposals to 336. We had more kicks and slightly more hand passes. Uncontested possessions, 19 to 11. That's not right, Joe. That
For the
can't be
numbers you gave
uncontested.
me.
No, that's not the category, but anyway. Marks, 98 to 84. You see there that we actually had more marks, both contested and uncontested. We had more marks inside 50, 15 to 9. With our tall timber down there, Mackay and Curnow taking quite a few marks. Hit-outs, we won that too, 49 to 37, with Jill Ruckman, Pitnet and DeConning combining to get the 49 hit-outs to only 37. Bounces, 6 to 2. 1% they slightly outdid us on that, 47 to 42. We had more tackles than they did, 70 to 64. Although they had more tackles inside 58 to only 5 from us. And of course, the inside 50 entries is one area that they also did far better than us, 56 to 47, despite Carlton having a lot more of the ball. So that'll be interesting to see what Rhys has to say about that. And also the biggest lead in the game. Well, we had a 15-point lead 26 minutes into the first quarter. They turned all of that around and eventually had a 23-point lead 6 minutes into the last. Very disappointing. Charlie Curnow kicking 3 goals, 7 for the day. Mackay kicked 3 goals as well. And for the Western Bulldogs, their main goal kickers were 4 goals to both Jamara Ugle-Hagan and also Riley West. So, disappointing result, but one that I certainly didn't expect. I thought that they'd rise to the occasion and get up for Cripper on his 200th, but not to be. Reece, what did you make of the game?
Well, disappointing is the word. It's I think you used it a couple of times there, and it was very disappointing. I thought our skipper, was the only one who really looked like they wanted to win out there. It was a pretty inept effort all round. I just think they wanted it more. They were desperate. A loss to them would have basically ruled them out of finals. So they were just more desperate than us, and we've been lucky that the results have fallen our way. We've been able to sit in second spot, and I think basically a few of the boys have been drinking too much of their own bathwater at the moment, and I think it's gone to their heads, and they think they're a bit better than what they are. And hopefully these couple of losses will smarten things up, because it really needs, and it needs a bit of a bossy to go in and demand better, because they beat us to the ball. They were harder at it. I think there was a message just before, 4 goals from straight out of the middle. They dominated that side of things, and we're going to be better than that. We need to be better than that. I mean, we going back 3 or 4 weeks, we were considered the only challenge really to the Swans, and now we're a bit of a laughing stock, and it's not good. And most of what's happening, it's not the ability of the players. It is a little bit, I think. But we have too many players who go missing, and you finish the match and you go, geez, was Cottrell playing? Did he get hurt or what? I mean, there's players out there who just, Ollie Hollands at times, he's going missing for long periods of time. I'm sick of all this. They're doing their job. Their job is to get the bloody football, to apply tackles, to get out and bloody do something. I mean, Wolsey always said, we all have bad days, but just go and do something. I used to start a fight or something if I wasn't having a good day or whatever. I mean, at least you've done something. Don't walk off the ground saying I've done bloody nothing because I, ran around like a bloody chook with its head cut off. But you gotta impose yourself in matches, and that's as an individual. you've got to do something, and we just got too many who do very little or nothing at all. And I was happy that Cottrell came back. I thought he earned his place, but looking back in hindsight, you sort of go, well, he's probably not that type of player who he probably needs a couple of runs in the VFL to get a bit of confidence, to get his running, to get his leg speed happening, whatever it is, and I just think we're in a real situation where I think our players are believing what they read, believe what they've read 2 or 3 weeks ago, and what they're being told. And they're a long way from it. They're a hell of a long way from it. Our back line has been exposed badly over the last 2 weeks. And I thought Marchbank coming in, good move, but, geez, the game may have passed him. The game may have passed him. And they're either got to look at him and say, well, for the next, 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to stick with him and give him a chance. If it would have been tough down there in the back line, but or they've got to go with a Lewis Young or a Durden. One of those blokes has got to come in. We can't have Wiedering doing it all on his own. He can't. And McGovern's been a great foil for him, but he wasn't out there. But Kemp can't play on those those big forwards. I don't want to take anything away from the Western Bulldogs, and I think the best thing that happened to the Western Bulldogs and Ugle-Hagan was Norton going out. Whenever Norton doesn't play, Ugle-Hagan is their go-to man.
Target.
He has got a lot of quality. He's a very, very good footballer. And I think if I was Luke Beveridge, I know what I'd be doing when Norton's right. I'd be putting him to centre half back. And leave that forward line with those two kids down there, and Darcy and Ugle-Hagan. Geez, they're going to be hard to bloody beat. So they're both quality forwards, so things didn't work out that way. But we need to be a fiercer, tougher team, and that is basically it. We need to apply pressure from the start of a game and continue that pressure until a side weakens, and they something breaks, and we don't apply the type of pressure that's needed in league football. Our last couple of weeks have shown that, and we've been duly beaten because of it. And that's our tackling pressure, our just the little things. We're just not doing well enough and not doing it for long enough.
David, the last few weeks we have got away to good starts, right? So obviously the talent's there and we know we can do it. What do you think happens at the quarter-time huddle? Like, do they drink some magic potion that puts them to sleep, or is it mental? Or, you've been in the situation, but do you come in like feeling cocky, or what do you think the real issue is there?
Well, you shouldn't, because the game goes for 4 quarters, and you should take a lot of you should be confident. You come in a quarter time and you go, we've got this mob. We're well on top. That's when you start putting the screws in, and you push that bit harder. You just make it harder for them. You don't ease up. That's giving the ball back to them. It's just putting the ball back in their court. So you just got to be mentally tough about the way you go about things and how you play, and bugger these, running, doing the team things or whatever they bloody teaching them these days, because it's teaching them not to get the football. We have two who just don't get the football and don't do enough during the course of a match. So, look, I think we've been out-coached the last couple of weeks. I think they've taken away our strengths. Walsh has been
he's been nullified, hasn't he?
So, and even Wiedering on the weekend. It started very well, but they worked a way out. They worked a way to limit his capacity down there, and that just...
They went around him to a large extent, didn't they? They almost tried
smart.
tried to get one decoy that Wiedering was on to go down one direction, and then they'd kick it to the other target. So, they minimised his effectiveness to come and intercept, mark, or spoil.
Yeah, well, I mean, and smart teams will do that because you're dumb if you keep doing the same thing all the time, and that's what we are. We're a pretty dumb football team because we just keep doing the same thing. We don't change what we're doing, and I'd like to see, even at times, positional changes, something out there just to rock the boat a bit, put Cripper down to full forward or do something. I mean, look, we're a little bit limited. I think Pitnick coming into the team restricts us a little bit from being able to do something like that. I mean, you can't have 4 tall forwards down there, so it makes it all the more difficult. But maybe I'm turning off the two ruckman theory at the moment. It doesn't seem to be working. And maybe we just go with the one ruckman, which places a lot of pressure then on young De Koning. But let's see if he's up to it then. And I think put it this way, you have a look at and we talk about the VFL, and that's where the next lot are coming from. It's a 21 team ladder, and they're 19th, I think. They've won 2 games for the year. So a lot of that has got to do with injuries over the course of the year. We have had a lot of injuries, but it just shows you where we're at. That we haven't got that quality of that quality list that we really need, and players. Obviously they're not there. If players keep getting a game, I mean, Fantasia keeps getting a game week in, week out for a long period of time there. We haven't got the players beneath there and then, I mean, you look at it and you see Hewitt picking up 34 possessions today or whatever in the VFL, and why he was dropped, I'll never know. And Jack Carroll's another one who seems to have been lost. They gave him a good run at it early in the season, and he wasn't doing badly. He wasn't doing as poor as some of them have, been playing for a few weeks anyway. Good. Look, it's good to see Charlie having 10 shots at goal, but I'd like to see him have 6 shots and 4 tackles. How about that? Because Charlie just doesn't tackle, he doesn't chase, and he's a bit of a liability down there when he's not doing that. So he'd be one. And sometimes you got to stick it to your star players, and hopefully Vossi gets him in the coach's room and just shows him how he's playing at the moment. He's not chasing, he's not tackling, he's not doing the little things. That's disappointing. And everyone's got to be on board, and everyone's got to be doing the 1%ers.
Vince, any other comments? You mentioned about off air about Charlie and his tackling. What do you want to?
Well, I don't think he's laid a tackle for at least 3 matches, maybe 4. So I've got to concur with Rhys on that. I mean, look, he's not essentially in the side to do that, but nevertheless, if you're not getting enough of the ball yourself, and as Rhys pointed out last week against GWS when he couldn't get near it, do something. It may not be your night, but make something your moment. You can have moments in games, even if you've been totally outplayed for 3 quarters, you can do something to impact the game, whether it be a tackle or a spoil or a smother. As Rhys pointed out last week, they are things that you can do. The ball doesn't have to be necessarily in your hands to do all of those sorts of team-orientated things. But he's not doing it, and he's almost sooking it up at the moment. I think Charlie's attitude really stinks at this point in time. And, I think you're right, Rhys. Sometimes your best players, or your so-called best players, need to be challenged, and they need to be eyeballed and told in no uncertain terms that the way they're playing at the moment is not good enough. Yeah, and I think that they generally rise to the challenge when they're actually eyeballed by the coach and pointed the finger at because they're not doing what they're supposed to.
And there's too many times where Charlie will jump at a mark and you'll see him and he'll land on his feet. He's a good athlete and so forth, but he doesn't chase after that. He doesn't chase that ball on the ground. Yeah. He doesn't chase the opponent who's,
running off him.
Yeah, and that's disappointing. And look, that's above the shoulders. That's nothing to do with physical ability. So, and sometimes, it may be that Vossi has to get him in a room, show him the vision, and say, Charlie, what are you thinking? Blokes running around, they're taken off, and you're just letting them run. So look, he's not the only one, but he's one of our stars, and we can be critical of players such as him because we have some aspirations as fans to these players need to live up to their reputations, or we're not going anywhere. And at the moment, we're lucky we haven't slid down a few spots on the ladder, and and probably even more lucky we got North Melbourne this week. Although I shouldn't say that, but geez, the way we're playing, they could take it up to us.
Rhys, do you think that he's like this comment? Do you think that maybe he's a bit too confident at times?
Who's that, Charlie?
Yeah.
Look, I've been of the opinion that he might be carrying something over the last few weeks, but then he bobbed up. He bobbed up yesterday in a couple of things. That goal he kicked from the ruck in the forward pocket, running through. That's what he should be doing. Those are the sort of things he can do. He's a freak. He just needs to get near the ball a bit more. His kicking was off a little bit, but he was having, a few of those points. He was outside 50 sort of thing with quite a few of them. So he's down the ground. But we need our top players in good form, and so I was happy he got a fair bit of the ball. Having 10 shots a goal is good, but it's the little things he's got to get better at, and that'll make us a better team. I mean, that's all you look for. We're got to be a better team all round, and we just made too many mistakes. The pressure that the Bulldogs applied to us was, and they continued to apply it, and that's how you break teams down. And we should be resisting that and pushing back and putting the pressure on them, and then waiting for them to break. It's we broke first last night, and they were able to get on top. And I thought if the Bulldogs are going to win, I thought, well, Bontempelli's got to have a night out, and he had a pretty quiet night. He was not that influential. I thought
he only had about 20 disposals and kicked one goal, didn't he?
Yeah, Sincotta did a pretty good job on him early on. So So he was no.
And they lost Treloar before the game.
That's it.
As a last minute withdrawal, and they went in without Liam Jones and without Aaron Norton. I mean, for them to go in with all of those star players missing and still do their homework on us and be going in at quarter time goalless after having those 7 shots, which were all points, they did a remarkable job to come back at us and actually take the game away from us in the end.
Yeah,
we've got to give them credit where credit's due. They played remarkable transition football. The way they cut us up through the middle of the ground at times, it was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe we were getting so badly outrun and outplayed. They were cutting ribbons through us in the middle of the ground. Our midfield, other than Cripps, I thought our midfield were absolutely smashed.
Yep.
Yesterday, smashed.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt. And they were putting no-name players through there, and they were able to get the ball and some of the 4 goals out of centre bounces. I mean, that just doesn't happen to good teams. That just doesn't happen to quality football teams. That's normally where we start and our strength. So they really got us at our own game, and we just weren't good enough. We weren't hard at it. As you said before, Paddy Cripps, he looked like the only one who wanted to win the game of footy. The one who was really having a crack all game, and that in itself is disappointing and probably even a little bit disrespectful to him by his teammates. And
I think so.
200th game, I just think it's very disappointing from your teammates to not be able to fly the flag and have a crack.
Hey, Reece, Sorry,
I'll
Joe.
put up-
Just
sorry.
one other question. Did you think at times we looked slow yesterday? Because I thought they made us look slow. I know you can easily say, oh, when you haven't got the ball, you look slow, and when you've got it, you look quick. But in all seriousness, if you look at that game, the amount of times they ran away from us, they literally ran away from us. They had so much leg speed compared to our players. It was almost embarrassing at times.
And they were closing us down. I mean, their leg speed was closing us down and making us look slow. So, we had players falling over, and it just looked terrible. There were a couple of times, Marchbank just got pushed around. First game back for a long time, but Jesus Christ, you want to get out there and show a bit of authority. I mean, he's, it's not as if he's, a first gamer or anything. You get out there and impose yourself a bit. So, look, it was just a very, very poor game of football from our behalf. And you got to congratulate the doggies for, their backs to the wall. Their coach was under siege last week, and they come out and showed a bit of ticker really, and that was the difference.
Yep.
I was going to say, I've been really disappointed with Chera. He looks slow. The last 2 weeks, he looks out of form, slow. I don't ever recall him being like that. Do you think maybe he should have come back through the reserves or the VFL, or because he just looks out of touch?
Yeah, I don't know, and without Hewitt in there in that inside mid sort of role, what they're asking of different players. So I think a little bit at the selection table cost us, and I think I for the life of me can't understand why Hewitt's not in there at the moment. But anyway,
I like this comment from Rocco Moro. Is Dool still available because we need him down back? I think Brucey Dool at 73, nearly 74 years of age, and probably show some of these defenders how it's done still, Rocco. That's for sure. But anyway, look, the other thing I noticed is that apart from early on in the game when Matty Owies looked like he was in for a really big match, he kicked the first couple of goals of the game, I think. He almost didn't touch it after that. And with the absence of Durden and Fantasia, the only other small forward was Motlop, and he was in the reserves as well today. So, when Owies goes quiet, then who are the small forwards going to be? Williams got obviously subbed out because he did a hamstring, so he's injured again. Surprise, surprise. But our small forwards were non-existent after quarter time.
Yeah, definitely. And you look good early. Owies too. He was on fire. He's he's our bright spark down there on the forward line. But I don't think anyone was going to expect him to kick 8 or 9 goals or whatever, or carry the load down there. And but they look from quarter time onwards. Big tick to the Bulldogs and to their coaching staff. They turned it around, and the same thing happened the week before. So we're just not reacting to the opposition, and when they change things around, we're just going through the motions and doing the same thing over and over. And we should have reacted at halftime and made some changes or done something along the way. But we're just not quite up to it at the moment.
Again, I noticed yesterday we kept kicking it to 3-on-1. Harry'd have 3 on him, they'd kick it to. Charlie'd have 3, they'd kick it. I don't get where the other players are or why they're not at the feet. That's got to be coaching. It has to be.
You talk about the pace of the game and it's a willingness to get to contest too. And look, I was going to go yesterday and I didn't in the end. I was going to head in there with Jimmy Buckley, but he wasn't feeling too well, so I didn't. But and I've watched the last 2 games on the TV screen. One thing you notice when you are watching it, well, it's easier to see it at the ground, but one of the great things you got to watch when you're watching on TV, you've got that square box there, as we're all looking at now. How many players, how many Carlton players do you see, and how many Bulldogs players do you see? And when a team is outnumbering you all the time or consistently, it means that you're not working hard enough. You're not working anywhere near hard enough. And I can tell you the doggies dominated the screen I watched last night. And, they just outnumbered us at the ball and made life very hard for us. So we're not working hard enough at the moment, and that's something that needs to be needs to change very, very quickly, because we can be on the wrong side of the 8 or even out of the 8. It's pretty close in there at the moment.
I've got to also say, Rhys, sorry, Joe. I'll just say the other thing is I noticed that the defenders of the Western Bulldogs did a remarkably good job. I thought that was one area that I thought our tall timber could have really gone to town yesterday. Now, they both kicked 3 goals each, Mackay and Curnow, but I thought that young Karmas and Rory Lobb, of all players, actually did a fine job down there in defence in the absence of Liam Jones and others that could have played there that are out of their side at the moment. I thought that young Karmas did a sensational job down back. What did you make of his game?
Yeah, no, he had the better of Charlie early in the game. Charlie got on top of it, which you should happen. But he was a bit of a surprise packet early, because there's not much of him. He's lean and thin, and but he had Charlie's measure early, and as you say, with Harry, getting on the scoreboard early, Lobb was able to peg him back as well, and so full credit to them. Full credit to them. But a lot of that come down to the way the ball is going in there too. It's just being bombed in there. We've got no real system. Every now and then we get one out the back sort of thing, and a quick passage of play, and we get that easy goal. But teams seem to get them against us a lot easier, and contested marks in that deep in the forward line is what killed us last week with Hogan and Jamal Hogan, Hugo Hogan this week. So ability to take contested marks deep forward have really hurt us over the last few weeks, and that's where we need another tall backman in there at the moment. Especially with McGovern not there. We're at one tall backman short, and Kemp's not the person for it.
The other thing I noticed is that Harry Mackay, out of the 2 tall forwards, Harry was the one that was on the lead, getting marks up the ground and kicking goals, generally from passages of play where he led out to the ball, whereas Charlie was just not doing that. He was more intent on wrestling with his opponent in the full forward line in the goal square. Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting how our forward line doesn't function, I suppose, rather than how it does function, because we've supposedly got the 2 of the best forwards in the competition down there, and we just can't make it work. It just doesn't. And even when you've got good big blokes down there, gee, I mean, it makes it a lot easier for your small forwards. So I can't understand why it doesn't work, and it should be working, because I think we've got the quality of players down there that we need a better system bringing the ball into our forward line, and we just haven't got it. We haven't got a system. It's just get it in long, and it seems like we've got the big blokes down there, kick it in long and high, which just makes it so much easy. So easy for the opposition. So,
did you get the impression at quarter time, Rhys, that unlike last week where we really dominated that first quarter, I didn't get that same feeling this time, even though we were 3 goals, 4 to 7 points. I thought that they had as much of the ball, if not even more of the ball, than what we did at quarter time. And other than inaccurate kicking, they could have very much have matched it with us by quarter time, and that they were very much in the game. And as we noticed in the first 10 minutes of the second quarter, they kicked 3 goals pretty much straight, and all of a sudden they were in front.
Well, yeah, and as we say, you know, always bobs in and kicks, you know, 2 or 3 in the first quarter sort of thing. So you don't really expect that, but you know that's not going to continue on. You know that's not going to, you know, be your whole match sort of thing. So, you know, opposition are going to shut that down pretty quick. But, you know, we just keep doing the same thing. We just keep doing the same thing, and the losses will come if we keep doing that. And I don't know. We can't make wholesale changes, but we need to make changes this week. We need changes in our setup. We're just not good enough at the moment, and we need to put some hard-nosed people, you know, and I'd be saying to whoever comes in, whether it be Hewitt, Carroll, these guys, you know, we want you, you know, we don't care how many possessions you get. We care how many tackles you make, how many smothers, you know, you're chasing, you're tackling, you know, because everything will come after that. You know, if you're doing the little things, the good things will come.
Yeah, they out-pressured us yesterday, which is a bit of a sad indictment on that side of ours, because we're normally priding ourselves on that sort of pressure, and they actually out-pressured us, I felt.
They out-tackled us. I thought they
out-tackled us.
We had a lot of broken tackles. I think in that second quarter they were just streaming through and you know, we're grasping at air, and it was pretty poor in you know, in our defensive mode that we should have been in. And the pressure we're applying to the opposition was almost non-existent. They were walking through us.
Yep.
So, David, you're not a fan of the 2 ruck setup anymore, I'm gathering.
I still think it can work. I just think we need to be smarter about how we utilise it, and whether we use the bench a bit more for that type of thing. You know,
did you think English was the type of ruckman that we should have gone in with Pitnet? Really?
No,
I thought that DeConning on his own would have handled that fine.
Yeah, I think their thinking was stretching the Bulldogs, you know, in height, but our blokes aren't catching the ball well down there at the moment. You know,
English actually played a really good game.
Yeah, Harry's doing well, you know, with marking, but Charlie's getting his hands on the ball a lot. He's not clunking many. And DeConning around the ground's marking okay, but every time he goes down forward, he's not taking grabs. He's and getting pushed aside too easy. So, it's something that, you know, I'm getting colder on anyway. Put it that way. Not as comfortable as what I was.
I noticed in the third quarter that we had Harry inside our forward 50. There was Harry and his opponent, Charlie and his opponent, and Tom DeConning and his opponent, and that was it. 3 talls, no smalls within the forward 50 arc. Between the goal square and the forward 50 arc, there was no one else except 3 tall timber players, not a small player in sight. That was a bit strange to see, to be honest. And as I keep saying, whenever Pitnet plays, Tom DeConning goes back into his shell. Every single game. You look at it. Every time Pitnet has played this year, Tom DeConning's had a relatively quiet game. And the only games where he's dominated is where he's got the number 1 job, and the only backup is Harry Mackay in the ruck, and sometimes Cripper.
Yep. And then again, you know, I mean, Pitnet didn't play last week, so, you know, it's It's. I think
Briggs would have, but I thought Briggs for GWS would have been more of an opponent suited to Pitnet playing than what Tim English was yesterday.
Well, I think exactly the same thing. But
selection's really baffling a lot of our supporters at the moment. I mean, leaving George Hewitt out, playing Pitnet this week but not last week. Playing certain players that are still out of form. I mean, Cottrell's game last week I thought was terrible, and he got another game this week, and he was terrible again.
Yeah,
but you know, I think that we're losing some of these games due to selection decisions as well.
Well, I think we had to look at it this week, and I think on what I've seen and what I've heard of, the VFL this week, that Hewitt and Carroll have to play next week, and that I think is going to put pressure on the other guys who will hang in there. There'll be a few who are out of form who'll hang in there because we've got no one else to put in. But it'll put a rocket up their clacker anyway, and make them realise that they're not safe either. So you've got to have that. You can't have players being comfortable. I've had a bad one. That's okay. I'll be in next week. There's no one underneath who's good enough to take my spot. You can't be thinking like that, especially if you're if you're not a star of the game. You're just a battler sort of thing. You've got to be going 100 miles an hour every week and earning your spot.
Yep. Well, would you be bringing in Jack Martin this week, seeing he has only had the one game today in the VFL where he's gotten 10 possessions, didn't hit the scoreboard, in place of Zach Williams, who's obviously going to be injured for at least a week or two with that hamstring. Would you be bringing Jack Martin in straight away, or would you be bringing in Jesse Motlop, who has actually played the last 6 or 7 reserves games? And not that he did all that much today, but he has had some very good games in the VFL. Would you just bring him in and just change the mix? We've never seen Jesse Motlop or Jack Martin for the whole year. I think Jack Martin might have played one game and he got injured, but Jesse Motlop has not played at all this year. So maybe we need that sort of a change, just to mix up the team and just throw in some variety.
Yeah, well, Jack Martin, I want to see in September. Actually, that's when I want him ready to be going. So whichever way you do that, whether it's playing him 3 or 4 games in the but let him know this is what we're doing. We need you fit and firing. We're going to leave no stone unturned to get you right, because we need you in September, and that's when you're going to do your damage. But obviously you've got to get him in there at some stage and have enough time beforehand. So, and we're running out of time. And that's what the coaches, I suppose, really have to look at. What is the team that's going to win us a flag? What is the team, and that's what they've got to look at, and that's what they've got to weigh up, and that's what they've got to say, well, we need to bring Motlop and Jack Martin straight in this week, to give them half a dozen weeks before finals or whatever. And so they're going to weigh all those things up. We'll start to realise who they value and who they don't. If Marchbank plays this week, it shows that they consider him to be a valuable part of it, and I think he's started the year in the seniors. So I think they do.
In the absence of McGovern, is that what you're saying?
Well, no.
What about when McGovern?
I think we need another one and McGovern. We need another tall and McGovern. Okay. Whether it be Marchbank, I don't think Kemp can do that role against quality forwards. I think he's going to get exposed. So
keeps making the odd howler, doesn't he, Kempy? He keeps doing something really good, like takes a great mark, and the next minute he kicks it on the ball over, and then all of a sudden it's cost us a goal.
But that's not to say that Kemp couldn't take the 4th best forward. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying in that aspect of it. Yeah. But they need another tall back there for Wiedering's sake, because he just can't do it all. He as good as he is, we need, and it's got to be out of Marchbank, Sam Durden or Lewis Young. One of those players, and they've got to have 3 or 4 games or whatever. I mean, we can't be sort of giving Marchbank 2 games and then Lewis Young a couple of games and then Durden a couple of games, because we're coming into finals and
that's right. There's only 6 games left. Actually, there's only 6 games left of the home and away season. So really, we're coming up to the the runway, so to speak, ready to take off into September.
And that's where you need to be. This is what they need to weigh up. When are we playing Motlop? When are we playing Jack Martin? Are we going to play him? this is.
This is what I mean. We've played 17 out of the 23 home and away games, and Motlop hasn't played at all. And Jack Martin might have played one game, I think, against Melbourne, and I think he did. I think he kicked the goal in the first quarter, and then we didn't see him after that, and then he went off injured. So they've effectively not played all year, really, those two.
Yeah,
surely now is the perfect time to introduce them into the team and get them to get the pace of AFL again, and slowly get some confidence against the lower sides like North Melbourne. We've got a couple of other relatively easy games coming up after them as well. So, it's
no game's easy, Vince.
Well, when I say easy, I shouldn't say that. That's disrespecting the opposition. But teams that are lower on the ladder that we should be able to account for if we're on.
Yeah,
literally, if we're on.
You look at the draw, and we've got a pretty easy run in. To be honest, where teams are positioned on the ladder at the moment. But the
last two games were against West Coast and St Kilda. They're bottom four sides.
Yeah. Yep. And we've got a bottom side this week. We've still got Hawthorn to come, who are playing good footy, but they're not a world beater, but we should beat them. There's games we should win. Port Adelaide, I think, is coming up as well.
But that's here in Melbourne, and the Collingwood game. Well, they're not going too well at the moment either, are they? Port Adelaide have got some real injury problems too. We could very well, if we're playing at our best, we could very well have an unbeaten run in these next 6 games if we actually, get our shit together, so to speak, and actually perform.
If we're playing like we did against Geelong, and that's not that long ago, and get that type of confidence back, we'll take care of those 6 teams very easily. But the real difference is that teams have worked us out. They've worked us out a little bit. So we need to go back to the drawing board. They realise how important Walsh is to us. They've been able to really put the leash on him over the last 2 weeks, and he's a superstar, Walsh. He is an absolute superstar. But teams are now getting smarter about having to shut down opposition, stars of the opposition, and I think that's happening right across the board. And so it should too, because I can't understand why teams let these best players from the opposition teams run rampant, week after week. And some are harder, obviously Walsh is a lot easier to handle than Cripper. Cripper's sort of a hard one to stop because he's going through the play, and if you're doing any hanging on, you're going to get called for it. So So anyway,
that was the other thing. Just on Cripper, how inspirational was he? He did another one of those running shots for goal, similar to last week's game against GWS, where he tried to lift the team and kick the goal from outside 50 that went through. Yesterday he did it again. That was the first goal of the game that he got out of his 2, which basically was an inspirational goal on the run. And I thought surely that's got to inspire these guys to lift and to get over the line for him, but didn't seem to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's we've had a couple of poor weeks. We've had a couple of poor weeks. I'd love to at the end of the season to for the fitness people to turn around and say we're loading, getting ready for finals. With 6 weeks to go, we've been loading their whatever they the fitness side of things, because you don't want to be peaking now. You don't want to be peaking right now. You want to be peaking in September, so
it's still middle of July.
We don't know certain things. We don't know certain things. So you don't want to throw too much mud, because
no.
It might come back at you. But all I can look at is the players who are going out there and representing that jumper, and the effort that they're putting in at the moment is just not good enough.
Yep. Yeah. By the way, Vossi in his press conference after the game was asked, are the alarm bells ringing? And he said, no.
He doesn't look phased, does he?
We'll just move on. We'll learn our lesson from today, and we'll get better next week. And he didn't look or sound phased at all.
But we don't know what happens behind closed doors.
About Charlie. He was asked questions about individual players, but he refused to engage in attacking individual players. He just kept it to the overall message. What's required of the team, and he seemed to be totally in control of himself in that press conference. And maybe some irate supporters would be frustrated almost by his relatively calm responses to questions. But one thing I noticed that you said, Rhys, was that he got out-coached in the last couple of weeks, and I can't help but agree with that. I made the comment last week that, do something, change something, put Charlie up the ground, or I think I said that last week. Now, yesterday, we could have made other changes just to keep the opposition guessing a little bit, but I didn't see any moves of any consequence or anything that impacted the game at all yesterday. At all.
No, we continue doing the same thing, and what's the old saying? You keep doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And it's a different result.
Get the same result.
Yeah.
The definition of insanity.
Yep. So so we I don't know. We're this team. They get you thinking that we're at where we're at, and we're a chance, and they can destroy that in a couple of weeks, and
they're a tease at times, aren't they? They're a bit of a tease, our team.
They are, and you look at them and you think, God, they should be, should be almost unbeatable. They've got the firepower there. Look, I've always thought our back line's been a bit suspect. And that's getting exposed at the moment. So I think some hard decisions need to be made there, and we need to I mean, you can't win every week. You can't win every week. But you can't have if you don't want your high and your low to be too far apart.
Yes.
Your best and your worst can't be too. You want it, sitting, pretty
a lot closer together.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what you get, and you're a more consistent team, and you're hard to beat. All you want to do is have a team that's hard to beat every week. If you do, good luck to you. But we're going to give it to you. We're going to give it to you and give it to you and give it to you. And if you're good enough to beat us, good luck to you.
Okay, final words. I'll start with you, Vince, because David's just had a go. What are your final words on the game?
Look, in essence, very disappointing loss. I was shattered for Patrick Cripps. He went off the ground. They tried to cheer him off, and he said, "No, thanks." And I don't blame him. The last thing he would want to do is to be cheered off after losing a game like that. But full marks to him. He just put his heart and soul into it. He's again one of the only 2 or 3 players that could probably walk off the ground with his head held high. Same as last week, really. So I think it's a sobering thought for a lot of these players who might have been coasting to say, "Hey, I might lose my spot on the side." And I think you're right, Rhys. I think we need to make some changes this week and get the fire up the proverbial Khyber Pass on a few of these players. And I think that's what's needed now, a little bit of accountability. So it'll be interesting to see how we respond against North Melbourne this coming Sunday night, a twilight game at Marvel Stadium. So they copped the battering too on the weekend, and they'll be keen to atone for that, no doubt.
David, final words?
Well, thank Christ for playing North Melbourne this week is my final words, because we desperately need a win. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens at the selection table this week. That's what I'll be looking at, and that's, I think, a statement really needs to be made there. And it'll be interesting to see whether it's a stick with Marchbank situation. Give him another couple of weeks, or whether they say the game's past him. He's not up to it at the moment. Let's give Durden or Lewis Young a go, and we're going to have one of them going before finals anyway.
Yep.
So, let's get to the votes, boys.
Yep.
Okay, my votes. Paddy Cripps, I think, as I said earlier on, the only one who I thought really wanted to win the game. He just looked determined and hungry to win a game of football, and congratulations. I reckon he'll probably pick up the 3 votes in the Brownlow. I think he was
Yep.
Yeah, there was no outstanding player for the Dogs, and I thought, well, if you really look at it, he's probably
which means they were playing more as a team.
Yeah. And then it was hard to pick, It was hard to pick, Blake Acres.
Exactly.
I put in. I thought he started really well, and he looked like he was trying hard, and so I put him in there. Weeders, I put in for 1 vote only because I thought just towards the end, I thought he probably got outmarked and he got beaten a couple of times back there too, which you just don't see happen.
I think he copped yet another knock on that quad as well. I think in the third quarter, I noticed him hobbling around a bit. He got another knock on the leg, and I thought, oh my God, how many weeks can this guy keep getting corked or cop knocks? He must be hobbling around pretty sore after each game at the moment.
Yeah. Well, to be perfectly honest, if I didn't have to give 2 and 1, I wouldn't have given him. I would have only given Ripper 3.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
that would have been it. That would have been it. I would, no one else deserved a vote.
Yeah.
Vince?
Yeah, look, Paddy Cripps, 3 votes. It's all been said. Our inspirational captain. I did feel for him after the game. I couldn't help but be a bit heartbroken for him, to be honest. I thought he deserved a lot better. And how those other players could look at him in the eye after the game, I don't know, because I reckon if I was any one of them, I'd be hanging my head in shame. Jacob Wiedering, I put in for 2 votes. I thought, especially early on in the game, he was outstanding. They just could not get past him. He was like the Rock of Gibraltar back there. I thought he deserved at least to get in the votes, and I couldn't find a player that was better than him other than Cripps. And I put in Harry, although most of what Harry did was in the first half as well. In for 3rd, I think he competed very hard all day, relieved in the ruck at times, and also took some really good marks and kicked generally straight for goal. And I thought he was one of the shining lights up forward. And look, with Acres, I thought about it, but while he got a lot of the ball, I didn't think he was quite as effective or as impacting on the game with his possession. So I left him out, but he would have been another one under consideration. But they were the vote getters for me.
And I agreed with both of you, David and Vince, that if you didn't have to give 2 and 1 votes, I would have given Patrick Cripps 3, Patrick Cripps 2, and Patrick Cripps 1.
Yeah, but 6.
Yeah, but I thought Jacob Wiedering tried hard all day. I mean, he did some good marks and took some telling marks, and I mean, he doesn't give up, which is what you want. And then I really struggled for the 1 vote, and like you, Vince, Acres, but I just thought he wasn't effective enough. I just think too many of our players went missing. So anyway.
By the way, boys.
Yes.
Apart from, guess who was the highest possession gatherer on the ground?
You.
No.
Who?
Bailey Dale.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah, he
After,
did. He had a good game. Yeah, he did have a good game. He might get the 3 votes in Cripper too.
Yeah, but Cripper got 28, so he was the highest possession getter for Carlton. And guess who laid more tackles than anyone else in the Carlton side?
Who?
Give you one guess.
Patrick Cripps.
8 tackles. So, I mean, not only is he getting the ball more than any other player, he's also tackling the opposition more than any other player. So, does that tell you the story or what? He's not getting enough help from his other midfielders. Those other midfielders, you know, and that was another thing, Reece. The decision to put Kennedy, who played really good game last week, and I thought the week before, why would you put him as the sub? You've already got George Hewitt out of the midfield. You let Kennedy start as a sub. You're down to only 3. You're down to only Cripps, Walsh, and Chera. And Chera, as far as I was concerned, you know, he was just. You know, I think he might have got 18 or 19 possessions, but he was largely ineffective. He's not damaging the opposition.
No, he's a quality player. He's just out of form and down on confidence, but he can play the game. He can play. So
we know he can play, but is he actually putting it together?
Yeah, you know, and the other thing is with these guys sort of going in and out, and Kennedy on as a sub this week, and Hewitt the week before, and I'd like a lot more consistency in our midfield than what's happening at the moment.
Be nice to get some explanations.
Yeah, I think having Hewitt in there helps Walsh. It protects him a bit, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, let's go to the leaderboard. Patrick Cripps clearing away with this.
Runaway leader.
Runaway. Can't be catched. Unbackable. He's at $1.01.
Can't be catched or can't be caught?
Both.
Catched.
Caught. I'm talking Chinglish. Can't be caught.
And you're an English teacher over there in Thailand, Joe.
No, not anymore. I'm too stupid.
Oh, well.
Yeah, so anyway, we've got Patrick Cripps, Sammy Walsh. And, you know, the interesting thing is Sammy Walsh hasn't scored many votes in the last 3 or 4 games. So it just shows that our dependence on Mr. Cripps. And now, let me do this. It is time for
the Spirit of Carlton Award.
The Carlton Award. Well, to be fair, honest, I could only give it to one person, and that was the bloke who played his 200th game, Paddy Cripps. No one else deserved it. And when you talk about the spirit of Carlton, you're looking at it there. That man there is the entire spirit of that team at the moment, and was
great
yesterday.
choice.
So, well, there was no one else.
Yeah, no one else. We all agree.
Great.
Brings us to next week, boys.
Yes. The blockbuster, 2nd versus 18th or 17th?
18th.
No, Richmond's 18th.
Yeah, okay.
16th. Still, aren't they? Surely.
Yeah, Richmond would be 18th.
So North will be second last, I think.
Or West Coast? Yeah, I'm not too sure at the moment. But
no, West Coast have got 3 wins.
Someone will tell us. Okay.
West Coast have got 3 wins. North Melbourne's got the 2.
Whichever way it happens, we need a good win. And what'll sort of it's going to be the way we go about it. Look, we're going to win the game, but it's going to be the way we go about it that I'll be looking for. And I want us to be a bit ruthless. I want us to be tough and hard and none of this showboating or anything. We're coming off 2, pretty bad losses, and I just think we need to re-establish ourselves. And the way you do that is you no mercy, absolutely no mercy. So I'm going to say an 11-goal win.
Whoa!
There you go,
Vince.
That's what we need.
Well, Sydney Swans have polished them off by 79 points yesterday, and they're on top of the ladder. And if we're going to try and be a top 2 team, we've got to do something similar. Yeah, I think we've got to be ruthless, as you said. I'd like to see some changes and some fresh blood brought into the team to inject some new enthusiasm. I'm going for Carlton by 12 goals. 72.
Really?
So I don't think we're as good as Sydney, but we're close.
When
we play well. So I think
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of players with their reputations on the line next week, and I think they'll have to perform.
I'm going to say Carlton by 6 goals. I'm not sharing the same confidence.
Okay.
Charlie to kick 2 goals 8 and Harry will kick 1 goal 6.
Don't say that.
No, anyway.
I
There's
think
been no change.
the biggest threats to us would be probably their full forward. What's his name there? Number 20.
Not Sherry. Suv Larkey.
Yeah, Larkey. Larky's a good player. Zerha.
They've got some good young kids. They've got.
They've got. I'll tell you now, Sheasel. He's an absolute gun.
Wardlaw's I like that young Wardlaw. He's a ripper.
Wardlaw's good. Yeah. They've got a few good up-and-coming players. They've certainly got a very.
I have, but if you can apply the pressure to them as the Swans did, we should be able to do it pretty easy. And, we need a good win though. We need guys in good form, and this is where they can find it, and they can find it by doing the little things.
Yep. Yeah, I think we'll run away with it. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, I've got to keep moving. I'm taping 60 minutes at the moment. I'm in this construction game, and it's going to be. I want to get over there and have a look at it. 60 minutes.
Oh, right.
Big expose on the CFMEU. So.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay. Well, that brings us to the end. So, David, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next week.
Stay on and watch these two, but
David's going to go and have a look. Thanks, David. We'll see you next week.
So, no worries. Thanks, guys. Go the Blues.
Bye.
Good on you, Reese.
Well, pretty frank. Vince.
I think they're all keen to see the back end of John Setka, that thug, whatever he is. He's leaving the CFMEU.
He was going to leave anyway, apparently.
You know what?
Wasn't he going to leave anyway?
Just yet another corrupt union boss in the socialist utopia of Victoria.
Right. Paid political announcement. Vince, go.
It's the unions running this state, no one else. Okay, so let's go back over the games. And, of course, we go back to Friday night where Geelong, they've certainly found a rich vein of form since we beat them. They haven't been defeated ever since.
We played teams into form.
I think that's 3 in a row for Geelong. That was a very good win by them. 13-13-91, defeating Collingwood, 10-11-71. And the Magpies are looking very, very doubtful for even making the 8. So let's hope it stays that way.
Next game, Vince. Bit
Saturday.
of a shock.
Geez, don't Hawthorn love going to Launceston in Tasmania and playing football there? They knocked over the third team on the ladder, Fremantle Dockers, even though they were behind for large parts of this game, and eventually knocked them over. And they kicked 13 goals, 987 to Fremantle 10-14-74. They were a little bit inaccurate, and it cost them. Then, of course, the game over in Sydney between the Sydney Swans and North Melbourne, and Sydney really did show their class in the end. 20 goals, 18, 138 in a return to the winners list after 2 successive losses of only, 1 point and 2 points in the last couple of weeks. North Melbourne, 9-5-59. We play them next week, and I'm sure they'll be keen to atone for that. Next game was actually ours with the Western Bulldogs, but we'll get to that after. The other games were at night. So we had Adelaide. The Adelaide Crows, 10-11-71, eventually overcoming St Kilda, who were pretty plucky for at least 3 quarters. But then they went goalless in the last, and Adelaide kicked away, I think, a 4-0 last quarter. St Kilda only 5-9-39. So a 32-point win to the Crows. And they now jump St Kilda on the ladder. The next game last night was between the Demons and the Bombers, and Melbourne prevailed 13-6-84 in a comprehensive win over Essendon. 10-7-67, and that's cost Essendon a top 4 spot on the ladder at the moment. And then today we had the Gold Coast Suns. I told you could take this to the bank, Joe. I said that the Suns would beat Port Adelaide.
Well, why didn't you bet it for us?
Well, I wish I had it. 14-12-96, defeating Port Adelaide 12-10-82. Port Adelaide could have gone way up into the top 3 or 4 on the ladder, but
second, in fact,
or even second. But as it turns out, they lose and they go down towards the bottom end of the 8, I think. And the other 2 matches that happened today, Richmond put up a fairly competitive performance against GWS, but I guess the Giants never really looked like losing that game. 17-6, 108, good kicking for goal to Richmond, 12-12, 84. The Tigers still on the bottom of the ladder. And the other game, geez, isn't it amazing when a team sacks their coach, how often they come up the very next week and really put up a good performance. They didn't win, but, geez, they gave Brisbane a run for their money. Brisbane, 16 goals, 10, 106, overcoming the West Coast Eagles with their interim coach, Jared Schofield, 14 goals, 993 by only 13 points. But I'm sure Brisbane will be happy to bank the 4 points and head back to Brisbane on a very long flight back. So we look at the ladder and you see everyone's played 17 games. Sydney on top clearly, 3 wins plus a healthy percentage ahead of Carlton. So I think it's pretty much lay down in the air that they're going to finish on top.
Top, yeah.
Carlton and Geelong are both on 44 points, only separated by less than 4% in percentage. So if we're not careful, we might lose that top 2 spot. Geelong's third now on 44, and then you've got Brisbane and Fremantle both, and Essendon, 3 teams on 42 points. How's that, Joe? When have you ever seen that in a ladder? 3 teams all with a draw there.
Yeah.
In the top 8. Brisbane, Fremantle, and then Essendon in 6th. Then you've got GWS and Melbourne both on 10 wins and 7 losses on 40 points. Melbourne are back in the 8. Outside of the 8, in fact, now is Port Adelaide. As you said, they could have finished second on the ladder, but now they're 9th just by losing that game today to Gold Coast. They're also on 40, but out on percentage. Then you've got the Western Bulldogs on 36, Gold Coast on 36, Collingwood also on 36. They have 2 draws, by the way, Collingwood. And then you got Hawthorn as well, also on 36. So all of those teams there are only 1 win out of the 8. Then you've got Adelaide and St Kilda on 26, isn't it? And 24.
Yep.
And they'll probably finish in those 14th and 15th positions because there's a fair bit of space between them and the teams above them and the teams below them. And those 3 teams below them are West Coast on 12 points and North Melbourne and Richmond both on 8.
Well, very interesting times ahead. Vince, do you know what time it is?
Probably about... I was going to say probably about quarter to 9.
Come on, give us your verdict.
Okay, this week, as I said to you earlier, I was trying to tune in on the press conference that Michael Voss had. And what is just so frustrating, if you're not in an absolutely quiet room and you haven't got your phone to your ear or, total silence around you, you cannot hear the questions that are being asked by the journalists in a press conference. The AFL is $1 billion plus business, multi-billion actually, and yet they can't afford decent microphones in a press conference area. I mean,
they can't even afford decent cameras.
What
for the
is
bloody
wrong
goal
with these people? For Christ's sake, if you want people to tune into the press conferences and you want to impose this on the coaches, because whether they like it or not, the coaches must attend. They are told by the AFL, you must attend the press conference and take the questions from the journalists. Well, you can't bloody hear the questions.
Yeah, but
Laura Kane, you want to make me happy for a change because you've done absolutely sweet FA this year in terms of improving the game. If anything, you've just botched it. Do something constructive and make sure that there are some proper microphones with speakers so that us at home can hear what the coaches are being asked.
No. All you hear is...
What do we have to do to get these things to happen?
All you hear, Vince, is...
No, you can't even hear that. It's just, it's almost a murmur in the background. And then the coach starts responding and you think, what the hell was he asked? It's terrible. It's so unprofessional and so typical of the AFL. They'll spend $1 million getting Katy Perry for the grand final, but can't spend a couple of $100 getting decent microphones and speakers at a press conference. It's a disgrace. They ought to be totally embarrassed about themselves. Bloody AFL. They are shocking. They are a joke. They are a woke joke. That's what they are.
A woke joke.
A woke
Not
joke.
a joke. Not a joke.
They are a woke joke. That's what they are.
Maybe they need to spend more money on Indigenous.
And by the way, the other thing is, I know you don't like me going on about the umpiring, but how many decisions yesterday in the Western Bulldogs Carlton game did you say, what was that for?
Oh, yeah.
There was a player that, I can't remember whether it was a Carlton or Bulldogs player. I think it might have been a Bulldogs player earlier in the game in the first quarter. Got caught, like literally within a split second of him getting the ball, he was absolutely gang tackled and holding the ball. And I thought, you've got to be kidding. Now, of course, Carlton supporters are going to be going, yeah, great, we got the free kick. You don't want to get free kicks like that. You really don't. Just a shocking decision. It's a lottery. Umpiring now is a total lottery. You don't know what you're going to get. Umpiring's like a box of chocolates.
Yeah.
Literally.
Anyway.
Vince. Yes, mate.
You lost again.
I backed this in a big way, didn't I? Didn't I pay the price? Seriously, anyone who took that suggested bet last week, I apologise. $60 we put on, thinking we're pretty right here. It's Patrick Cripps' 200th game. Surely we beat the Dogs and get it over the line for him. Nah. So we're down to $60 in our account, Joe.
Yeah. But give us your bet for this week.
So this week I've decided to go with a multi to try and get not all of it back, but some of it back. We're going for Essendon to defeat Adelaide here in Melbourne on Friday night at $1.54. Multi that up with GWS to beat Gold Coast because Gold Coast can't win away from home. And I expect GWS to win that. They're on a good streak now. I think they're marching towards the 8 now, the final 8. St Kilda to beat West Coast at $1.20. Look, I don't like the odds, but I do think St Kilda will win. We're also going to go for Port Adelaide against Richmond next week in Adelaide at $1.11. And Geelong to beat the Doggies over at GMHBA Stadium. They're always very hard to beat down there. I think that pays $1.35.
Yep.
And finally, Carlton to beat North Melbourne at $1.17. So we multi all of those up together and we get odds of $4.47. So we're going to put $10 on to get back $44.70.
And as Vince says, our balance is down to $60.
So with
DC,
that,
I don't even
so
think,
with that $10, it'll bring us back to 50 if we lose.
I don't think that $60 will get us pizzas and VBs, to be honest.
I doubt it.
Anyway, so Vince, that brings us to the end of the show. So just
already?
Recapping. Yeah,
everyone was just getting warmed up, weren't they?
I don't know. You were just starting to get warmed up on John Setka and all that. But before we go, let's do a recap of what is on the Jumper Punch channel this week.
Yes.
Tuesday night, you got the boys at the Jumper Punch. I'm predicting a world record 5-hour show this week. World record.
No, it can't happen.
Right?
It can only happen when those microphones last beyond 11:15 p.m. Because at around about 4 hours and 15 minutes, they all go on the blink.
Well, they might have three.
The batteries run out on the microphones. Otherwise, they probably would go to midnight.
Anyway. Then, so Tuesday night, you got the boys on the Jumper Punch. Wednesday night, Rockin' the Burbs, followed by Forever Rivals. Forever Rivals will be interesting, Vince. 4 losers.
No one won. They would call them Forever Losses. Yeah. Or Forever
Thursday
Losers
night,
rather than Forever Rivals. Yeah.
Thursday night, we've got Sam and Rash. Get out of my house, Sam, for God's sake, with the change room. Big hi to them all. And then, of course, Vince, I've put us down for next Sunday night at 7:30. However, However, we are playing at 4:30, so
Yes. We're
I
not
doubt
going to be doing the show on Sunday next week.
No, so we'll do it. We'll do it on Monday night.
Yeah. It's not enough time to set up the show. We need the results. We also need to get back from Marvel Stadium. So look, it's going to be a bit too late, even if we started the show at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Most people want to finish watching the show by then and get ready for bed and go to work the next day. So next week we'll be on Monday night at 7:30 instead of Sunday. So just make sure you subscribe to the Jumper Punch channel, and you'll get all the notifications when the show's about to start and all that sort of thing. So if you haven't already done so, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to join as a member of the Jumper Punch, you can also do that if you look up the channel and have a look at all the various membership types that you can take up there and all the benefits that go with that membership. So a lot of people have done that, and one of them, in fact, I'm not sure who it is. One of them got drawn out of the barrel, I think, last week or the week before. Rocco's telling me that one of the Jumper Punch members is going to be on the couch with the boys. I'm not sure, but it might even be this Tuesday night.
Okay.
I think.
Well, let's look forward to it.
If it's not this Tuesday, it'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Anyway, so that brings us to the end of the show. I'd like to thank everyone for their patience, contribution, comments. Don't forget, like, subscribe. And until next week, this is Bangkok Joe saying goodbye, and Vince Loccisano saying...
And the big Vincenzo saying, go Blues next week, we have to win.
Yes, and we better win.
Exactly. Go Blues.